First of all, federal prosecutors say 59 people have been investigated in these schemes so far. Americans at large stole tens of billions of forms of aid during the pandemic all over the country. Minnesota's fraud scandal stands out, according to federal auditors. What are you hearing from investigators right now?
Well, I've been following the cases closely as they've gone through the courts, and we know that there are more indictments possibly coming. I think that number might go up to 73 is what I'm hearing.
Okay. Can you shed any light on why the fraud got so out of control in Minnesota?
I think what happened is that, you know, when you have these kind of new programs that are designed to help people, you're oftentimes relying on third parties to be able to facilitate. And I just think that a lot of the COVID programs that were set up, they were set up so quickly that a lot of the guardrails did not get created.
Hey guys, my name is Modi and welcome back to Modi Speaks. So guys, finally, the Somalians in America have been busted. The Somalians in Minnesota have been totally busted. You know, one thing I like about Americans is that they will fight for their country, okay? The United States is not like the UK. The UK tend to be too accommodating of some certain nonsense, but those kind of nonsense do not really fly in places like America. The United States of America will get you busted when you start misbehaving, especially when you have a Republican leader in that presidential seat. And that is exactly what we are witnessing happening in America right now, with the Somalians that were silently destroying their entire society. The almighty Somalian daughter, Ilhan Omar, who has promised to advance the interests of her country, Somalia, all the way from the United States Congress. And guys, there is an actual clip of her saying this particular thing, and I am going to play that clip later on in this particular video. But yeah, she is frightened right now. She is sweating. She is on the hot seat and she is freaking scared because she might be going down together with her fellow Somalian fraudsters. And guys, believe me, I am keeping a particular eye on this particular issue. You know, I saw this coming and I was one of those commentators that called this on time. I know I'm fairly new in this particular space, in this YouTube space. I started this channel, I think, last year of 2024. But immediately I came on here and took a look at the nature of things. I called the problems head on. I exposed the Islamic invasion that is rapidly taking over the West. I called out the degeneracy of irresponsible black folks, and I called out the cowardice and the selling out of Western leaders like we see in places like the UK, Canada, okay? And I told you to beware of the Somalians. Beware of little Mogadishu being erected right in the heart of Minneapolis. Something is going on there. I said it right on time. It is very dangerous that American leaders, okay, are learning Somalian languages, learning Somali culture just to win elections in the great United States of America. That is a very dangerous situation right there. I called it even way before other people thought it was cool to talk about Somalians. And now Trump is calling it too, and he is putting an end to the fraud. First of all, guys, let us listen to Trump, then I will walk you through the massive fraud going on right under your own noses. Watch.
Waltz is a grossly incompetent man. There's something wrong with him, okay? There's something wrong with him. And when you look at what he's done with Somalia, which is barely a country, you know, they have no anything. They just run around killing each other. There's no structure. And when I see somebody like Ilhan Omar, who I don't know at all, but I always watch her for years. I've watched her complain about our Constitution, how she's being treated badly. Our Constitution, the United States of America, is a bad place. Hates everybody, hates Jewish people, hates everybody. And I think she's an incompetent person. She's a real terrible person. But when I watch what is happening in Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes, or however many lakes they have, they got a lot of lakes. But this beautiful place, and I see these people ripping it off, and now I'm understanding, and you're going to look at I hear they ripped off Somalians. ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
One thing I like about Donald Trump is that he doesn't mince words, okay? He is as blunt as they come. And I think I like him because of this, because that is also the way I am, okay? I don't know how to censor myself. I blot things out exactly as I see it. And I know that is going to put me in a lot of problem in this line of work, but I am not going to change, okay? I'm never going to change. Now, even if you don't like what Trump said or what he is saying or how he is saying it, one thing is that he is telling the truth. He told no single lie. Somalia is a hellhole and they do nothing but kill each other and marry 6-year-old female children.
I am trying to visit every single country on the planet, and today I'm in Somalia. I am back in Somalia.
They are not only warring with their own neighboring countries like Ethiopia and Kenya, they are actively killing fellow Somalians. Those of them who claim to belong to the Somaliland, not Somalia. The country is fighting each other, fighting among themselves. The country is also a no-go zone. All pirates and jihadist killers. And before you get offended by the truth, please ask Ilhan Omar herself, okay? She herself fled her beloved country of Somalia at the age of 8, okay? She fled to Kenya, where she later smuggled herself into the United States of America. And now that she is in the United States of American Congress, she is furthering the interest of her country, Somalia, despite swearing allegiance to the United States of America.
dad badan ay soo wacay oo waxay leeyihiin Ilhan dawladda Mareykanka inaan la hadashid waaye dawladda Mareykanka maxay ka qabanaysaa jawaabteedu waxay ahayd dawladda Mareykanka waxay ka qabanaysaa wixii annaga aan dhahno dawladda Mareykanka qabo waa kalsoonidaas inaan isku qabno annaga Soomaali hadii aan nahay wadankan annaga ku nool wadankan wadankii aan annaga tax ka dhiibno waaye waa wadankii gabar idinka dhalatayne ee Congress ka fadhiso intii aniga aan Congress joogo wadanka Soomaaliya biyaheeda dad kaleeta iyo badeeda dad kale ma qaadanayaan wadanka Mareykankana kuma taageerayo dad kaleeta in annaga ayna dhacaan marka taas ka seexda reer Minnesota gabadhii Congress u dirsateen way idinka war haysaa sidaad idinka u dareemaysiin dantaas ay u dareemeen madaxweyne Xasan Sheekhna.
As long as I, your daughter, is in the United States Congress, Somalia will never be unprotected. Well, let us see some of the things that they are doing for their Somalia all the way from the United States of America.
It's true. A Somali fraud ring in Minnesota stole over $1 billion from Medicaid. How did this happen? Well, Medicaid programs are run by the states, which in Minnesota means the Tim Walz administration. Governor Walz and the state's other Democrats rely on Somali votes to get elected, so they decided to look the other way because they were afraid of, quote-unquote, political backlash. Don't take my word for it. That's what a Somali-American fraud investigator told the New York Times. When these scammers realized that nobody was guarding the cash register, they went gangbusters. One program designed to provide housing stabilization assistance to patients ballooned to $104 million. when 4 years ago it was projected to cost only $2.6 million. Some of these taxpayer funds may have even ended up in the hands of a Somalian terrorist group. Scary stuff. When CMS became aware of the housing program situation, Minnesota insisted it could clean up its own mess. A few months ago, it admitted it could not. So we stepped in to shut down the fraud-infested housing initiative. Today, we're taking action on more than a dozen other programs, which I've outlined in the post below. Our message to Walls is clear. Either fix this in 60 days or start looking under your couch for spare change, because we are done footing the bill for your incompetence. This administration will never stop fighting to protect the vulnerable Americans who rely on these programs and the taxpayers who fund them. We're going to crush waste, fraud, and abuse.
The state of Minnesota has been at the center of one of the largest welfare and social services fraud waves in the U.S. history, with federal prosecutors uncovering interconnected schemes that have siphoned off more than $1 billion in taxpayer dollars over the past 5 years. These frauds primarily targeted programs designed to support vulnerable children and families, including child nutrition during the COVID-19 pandemic, housing assistance, and autism therapy benefits. These Somalian scammers used stolen taxpayer money to buy flashy cars, purchase overseas real estate in places like Kenya, and offer kickbacks to parents who enrolled their perfectly healthy kids at fake autism treatment centers. Whistleblowers and investigators have suggested that the total fraud across related COVID-era programs could reach as high as $8 billion. Law enforcement officials describe these as brazen operations where fraudsters set up shell companies to bill state and federal agencies for services that were never provided, often exploiting cultural and language barriers in immigrant communities to recruit participants. Now, the recruiters and their willing participants were largely Somalis. The schemes have led to 78 indictments in the flagship case alone, with 59 convictions as of late 2025. Recent probes have raised alarms about funds being laundered overseas to Somalia, potentially funding the terrorist group of Al-Shabaab via informal Hawala networks. Now, let's take a deeper look into some of the frauds these Somalians were carrying out right under the noses of the United States people, okay? The autism therapy fraud. The Early Intensive Developmental and Behavioral Intervention, the EIDBI program. This scheme targeted Minnesota's public-funded EIDBI benefit, which provided medical necessary therapies for children under 21 years with autism spectrum disorder. Now, these Somalian fraudsters exploited the program to their benefit. Autism claims to Medicaid exploded from $3 million just in 2018 to $399 million in 2023 because these guys were faking diagnoses and billing for non-existent services. Now, prosecutors allege that this was part of a broader web of fraud tied to the Somali community, when parents were paid kickbacks to enroll their children, perfectly healthy children, even if they showed no signs of autism. Fraudulent operators like 28-year-old Somalian Asha Farhan Hassan and her partners approached Somali families in Minneapolis, offering them $300 to $1,500 monthly cash payments to parents in exchange for enrolling healthy kids in therapy programs. If a child lacked an ASD diagnosis, they would arrange quick fraudulent evaluations from complicit providers to qualify these children. Services such as behavioral interventions were billed but never delivered. Instead, funds went to luxury purchases, real estate in places like Kenya, and overseas transfers. The scheme defrauded over $14 million from the Minnesota Department of Human Services and NUKED between the years of 2021 and 2023. $14 million in less than 2 years. This same woman was also tied to so many other fraud. She has been charged for her crimes even though she pleaded not guilty, but she will face up to 20 years of imprisonment if convicted. We also have the Feeding Our Future Children nutrition fraud, okay, where we discovered massive phantom meals and laundering. Defendants created shell companies claiming to serve millions of meals. Funds were laundered through real estate, luxury cars like Lamborghinis and overseas wires. No meals were distributed. Money went to personal enrichment. Over $250 million to $300 million were stolen just from 2020 to 2022. Individual hauls included 47 million by one operator by the name of Abdimajid Mohammed Noor and $11.5 million by another, Haji Osman Salad. 78 persons were charged, almost all of them as of November 2025. All of them almost were Somalian Minnesotans, including site operators in Minneapolis and rural areas like Pelican Rapids. Now, in November 20th of this year, the 77th defendant, Usman Kamara, a disqualified Snap Snore owner, charged with wire fraud and bribery after pivoting to nutrition scams. In November 24th, the 78th defendant, Abdi Rashid Big Zidu, was indicted for $1.1 million in fake site fraud in Moorhead and also Pelican Rapids. November 25, Neo was sentenced to 10 years in prison and $47.9 million in restitution. Judge Nancy Brassel called it elaborate and blatant. Now, February 25th, a Minneapolis woman pleaded guilty to laundering $1.4 million via luxury brands like Louis Vuitton. Currently, we have 50 plus guilty pleas, 7 trial convictions, including leader Amy Buck in March. Trials continue into the year of 2026. We also have the Housing Stabilization Services, the HSS, okay? This is another fraud. This fraud targeted Medicaid HSS programs, okay, which provides housing to aid people with disabilities or mental health needs. Fraudsters, Somalian fraudsters, billed for fake stability services like case management and rent assistance. These Somalian scammers carried out series of ghost services for millions of US dollars. 8 defendants, 6 of whom were all Somalians, set up companies, billing for undelivered aid, pocketing millions of dollars. Funds were funneled to personal accounts and hawalas. But thankfully, these frauds have been busted and investigations are underway. Most of the scammers have been charged, but mind you, this is still an evolving story. So I'm sure that federal trials could reveal even more in 2026. Now, all of this happened under Tim Walz, and I am 100% sure that he was well aware of all of these crimes, but he deliberately turned a blind eye to it all because he didn't want to antagonize his voting base, okay? He loved being revoted as the governor more than he loved his country and the American people. This was him, Tim Walz, kicking Minnesota flag to the curb and replacing the Minnesota flag with the Somalian flag. Take a look, guys.
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute. There, that's better.
What a disgusting sellout. Who made this man governor? Well, don't tell me. Democrats. And I hate it when people say that he is incompetent because he is not. He is perfectly competent, but he hates America. And that is why he is destroying his state, okay? We all know that Somalians have completely taken over Minnesota. They have a huge voting bloc in Minnesota. And that is why greedy sellout Tim Walz turned a blind eye to their horrors, to their crimes. People like Tim Walz need to be investigated and punished severely if found guilty. Let us also not forget Ilhan Omar, okay? She was the person who introduced the bill, the Mills Act, okay? Which was used to rob and defraud American taxpayers in this Somalian scam. I want nothing more than to see these people jailed. I want to see these guys jailed for a very, very long time if they are found guilty. Put them behind bars and give innocent taxpayers back their money. But in the meantime, guys, I am happy that House Oversight is investigating this so-called Governor Tim Walz's role in all of this. 59 convictions have been made and there will be more trials in 2026. And also, Trump has ended TPS for Somalians and started mass deportations of fraud-linked individuals. FBI is raiding, the city, and the housing programs have been shut down and autism rules have been tightened. Ilhan Omar and her cohorts are currently shaking in their boots, and I would love nothing more than to see them brought to justice if found guilty. As always, guys, these are my thoughts, these are my opinions. Please feel free to share yours in the comment section below, but do so respectfully. Also, if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, honestly, I don't know what you're waiting for. Subscribe to the channel, like and share this video to keep people informed, and consider joining my membership or supporting the channel in any way that you can. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to catch you on the next one. For now, peace.